What up, Bayside youth? Thank you so much for joining us today. Today we're going to be doing a Q&A panel about relationships that you guys sent in. Let's introduce our panel today with their name and then a funny fact about themselves.
My name's Maddie. I am
Beautiful.
Shane's... my funny fact. I'm Shane's wife. He's the pastor of the North River campus, Next Gen. A funny fact about myself. Oh, I don't have a funny fact.
She goes to bed at 8 o'clock.
I go to bed at 8 o'clock. That is a funny fact. I'm an old
awful.
person when it comes to sleep.
It's really weird.
Love my sleep.
Do you wake up at like 4 a.m.?
I mean, yeah, I have kids, so.
Yes. My name is Shane Brock. As she said, I am her husband, and I pastor our North River Campus Student Ministry. And a fun fact about myself is that I am allergic to turtles and cats.
Shane, how often do you encounter turtles?
How often do you encounter turtles? No one ever encounters turtles.
So how do you know?
So how do you know?
I think my parents just made it up when I was a kid, so I wouldn't have turtles, honestly. But I remember having a turtle.
know.
It was this big, and then one day it was
It's funny,
gone.
I'm allergic to sugar, so I'm just...
I need my reasons for that still, so pray for me.
Sweet, congrats. Well,
Thanks, bro.
hey guys, my name is Kyle, and a fun fact about myself is that I know that Shane is on Tinder, which is weird. I don't know if he's allowed to do
She
that.
doesn't even know what Tinder is.
That's true, that's fair. But anyway, I'm Kyle. I do a lot of creative things here, and I get to date Jamie.
Uh-oh.
So, she's really cute.
What's up, guys? As Kyle said, my name is Jamie, and a fun fact about myself is that I'm actually allergic to beanbag chairs. I know.
It's real life. It sounds made
Are you
up.
allergic to the material or the beans inside?
So it's the material. If it touches my skin, I break out in this crazy rash. It's a little TMI, but you know what? It's fine. We're all family here. It doesn't matter.
Pretty weird.
And I am Lucas. Which camera do I look at?
That
one. Okay. The only one pointed at me. Hey guys, I'm Lucas. I'm the token single guy of the of the Q&A panel. Welcome. And my fun fact about myself is when I get ice cream at an ice cream shop, I like to use the sample spoons to eat the whole thing.
I felt that.
Right?
Yeah.
It makes it last longer.
I can
It hits different.
Yeah.
I'll be
Great point.
honest.
I
I'm
definitely
little like
expect
Haagen
that.
Dazs,
They're just
little
so
single
cute.
serve.
Right,
That's amazing.
exactly. So I always get like at least one sample, not because I don't know what I want, because I always get cookies and cream.
That's right.
So it's like can I get a samples of cookies and cream, and then I just eat the whole thing with that small
So you're
spoon.
just too embarrassed to ask for the small spoon.
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
I get
Get it hard.
That makes sense.
But also
Hey,
extra
he's
little
single
scoop of
and
ice
ready to
cream.
mingle. Just FYI.
Oh, gosh.
Yep.
Our first question today from EVC Campus is an embarrassing dating story.
All right,
I'll
so
let y'all take this one.
one time. Sorry, Lucas. Take it.
I guess you can just share a story.
So one time I thought that this girl that lived across the street was really cute. And I was like what, 5th grader? I don't know. And so we would play soccer with each other in like our front yard. And so one day I was like, I need to tell her how I feel, but I was an awkward small homeschooler, and I did not know how to do this. So I was like, I'm gonna write a letter.
Oh, gosh.
And so I wrote the letter,
Do the check
and
boxes.
I walked across the street, and I handed it to her dad. And I never heard from that girl again. So,
Yikes.
weird.
That's-
Did y'all ever do the locker
Yikes.
drop off? You put a letter in the locker
Can't say I
with
did,
the
bro.
like
I did not.
yes, no,
I did
maybe.
not. No.
I was
Neither,
with you.
same.
Just
Neither did I.
never-
Neither did I. Same.
Oh,
I was
no.
checking.
Yeah.
I don't really have an embarrassing story about dating, but I do have an embarrassing story about Shane.
Oh, let's
Yes.
hear it. Let's hear it.
So
This is why
Shane
you're
talks
here.
in his sleep.
Okay.
So it's so fun to wake up the
I'm
next
cool with
day
it.
and just tell
I'm
him
cool
what
with it.
happened the night before. We're laying in bed one night, and all of a sudden I feel a tap on my shoulder.
That's very good.
I don't say anything because I know he's just talking in his sleep. He taps me again, and I turn over. I'm like, "What?" And he goes, "Excuse me, miss. I don't mean to be rude, but there are hundreds of ants crawling all over you."
I'm crying right now. This one's gold. No, just go back to bed.
And then he just goes back to sleep.
And do you remember the next morning?
No,
or
no, but she tells this story to all of my family members.
Excuse me.
Oh my god.
mean to be
He was so polite. He was so polite about it too. I was like,
Yeah, that's
"Excuse
weird.
me,
That's super
miss.
weird.
Can I-"
Yeah.
For sure.
Priceless. That's a good one.
Wow.
Sorry, Kyle, but that beat
I
yours.
And since
But his was embarrassing. To be fair.
It's
To be
just
fair.
Yeah.
sorry, Gianna.
You're watching.
What is the best part and worst part of marriage?
Lucas?
So that is, yeah, Lucas.
I'll tell you what the best part
Jane
is.
and Matt.
Biblically.
Well, interesting question. I think marriage is hard at times. I think in marriage, before you get married, I think you oftentimes look at like how good things are going to be, how amazing it is when you're married, put it on Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, whatever. But I think a lot of times, I think the beautiful thing about marriage is that you learn to grow in areas that you're weak, and you get to learn how to grow along with another individual. Yeah. And she can see things in my faults and my flaws, and I can see her flaws and her faults, and how we can grow together one another. That's my favorite thing, just how we become one, and how we become a team, how we're in this together when it comes to parenting, which I learn a lot from her. She is the queen of parenting. I'm not. So he's like my bro. But I think my favorite thing about marriage, honestly, outside of that, is just watching her become a mom. Like there's nothing better than seeing her walk in that gift, and just the joys that she has as a mom raising two crazy boys. So I just love seeing you being a mom. So I love you.
That's so cute. So
cute.
That's cool. What's your favorite thing?
Oh, my favorite thing. I just love doing life with you. You're just hilarious. I just feel like marriage. It is. It's fun. It's fun doing life with your best friend. I feel like that's definitely the best part. Is just getting to experience different seasons with your best friend.
Yeah.
But
the next question from NRC is, what was your celebrity crush when you were a child?
Taylor so embarrassing.
Swift.
Hey.
Basic.
Mine was Dave Franco. So
Super easy. I bet you could guess it.
Yeah, calm down, Shane.
You guys go ahead.
I will elaborate on mine. I love Taylor Swift.
T-Swift?
T-Swift. I went to her concert a few times. I have shirts with her face on it that I don't wear to this day. I love Taylor Swift.
She's single, I think. You can set this up right now.
I don't think she loves Jesus though, so it's a no-go.
you know what? That's an important thing.
She might break up
we have
with
to
you
fix
and then
that
We
her
might talk
song.
about that later.
We have to fix that first, and then talk about it. I'm just
To go, it was Dave Franco. Okay.
Who?
Is he older or
Dave
younger?
Franco.
The younger friend.
Is he the younger one or the older one?
I don't know.
James is older.
I didn't read too
yeah, I know
much
exactly.
into it. I just thought he was
Big
cute.
ol' eyebrow
That's
boy,
it.
right? I know exactly.
Yeah, them
Yeah, I got it.
thick bad boys.
What about you, Kyle?
I think it had to be Carly from iCarly, because I love the show. And I was
Miranda
like,
Cosgrove.
Miranda Cosgrove is her name.
Now,
That's
for those of you who don't know this, her first role was in an incredible show called Drake and Josh growing up.
Drake and Josh.
so
Drake and
good.
Josh was.
OG.
It was so good. Yeah.
I'm gonna let my wife answer this for me. Let's see how well my wife knows me.
Jennifer Aniston.
Come on.
Jennifer.
Hey,
She's like 50, man.
dude, when we were kids, bro.
Well, mine's embarrassing. I had a crush on LL Cool J.
Come on. It was LL Cool J. Come on. From the 90s, early 90s.
I am from the 90s.
Next question.
How can you tell it is God putting you in a real relationship and not yourself?
That's a good question.
We just got serious.
I think, first of all, consulting spiritual authority and then trusting what they say is very big, because a lot of times, if you're trying to force it yourself and a spiritual authority is telling you not to do it, then you get a little defensive. You start feeling like, you start like retracting, like, but this is actually going to be fine because this and this. You try to explain it out. I think those might be some signs that you might be trying to force that if the spiritual authority is telling you otherwise.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of making sure that our priorities and our lives are accurate. And so when it comes to relationships, our number one relationship will always be our relationship with God, our relationship with Jesus. So
good, bro.
a good way to gauge if it is from God or if it is like a distraction and something that you're trying to force is it taking away from your relationship with God, or is that relationship actually helping you be pushed even closer to God in the process? Because I think that's one of the biggest things is if someone starts dating someone and then all of a sudden they kind of disappear from church, probably not a relationship from God, if I had to guess.
Yeah, I think sometimes we overcomplicate it. Like I feel like sometimes there's like this magical person somewhere out there for me. Like, is God gonna bring them to me? I don't know if it works like that. I think that at some point your paths may cross with the individual. And what Kyle said, like, where do their values land? What do they love God? Do they live a life that shows and reflects their relationship with God? And I think you just take it one step at a time. Like, I didn't know Madison was my wife day one.
Right.
When I met her at Collective or Venue, like I was like, this is my wife. It wasn't like that. We just grew together, and we grew in the Lord, and then God just, every single step of the way, we honored God in our relationship with purity, our minds, our eyes, everything, our friendships, our goals, our dreams. And I think it just comes together like in just a beautiful way when you honor God, and I think God will honor your relationship when you do that.
Yeah.
What is the best part about being
it.
single?
Got it. So singleness, I know this sounds super cheesy, is a gift. And it's honestly, there's so much that you can do in a season of singleness. My favorite thing about it is that you can literally, like, if God calls you to do anything, you can do it. Like, there's nothing, you don't have to run it by anybody, like, other than spiritual authority, obviously. But, for example, I lived in Alabama for 7 years, and then last year I got offered a job here. And I'd prayed about it with spiritual authority. I was able to do it. I didn't have, anybody else whose job was depending on me moving or anything like that. It wasn't like I had a wife who had a job in Alabama and like she would have to relocate and you can do so much for the kingdom of God when you're single because sorry, I'm not like bashing marriage obviously because one day I would hope to be married, but there's no strings holding you back in any way in singleness. And so, if God calls you, hey, you need to go be a missionary, or you need to go to this state, you need to take this job, you can do that, you know what I mean? And provided that's what God's calling you to do, and provided that that's what you want to do and what you feel called to do, you can do that. So
It's good, bro.
Singleness is such a gift because you can do so much for the kingdom of God. And I would just encourage you guys, especially, to really, like, not you guys obviously, but the people listening, that in your season of singleness, don't just spend it looking for somebody only. Spend your season of singleness chasing after God and growing closer to Him, because that's what you should be doing.
It's good, bro.
And honestly, the more you do that, the more you're going to become the person. You're going to become a person that is worthy of a relationship and of marriage. And so I think a lot of people neglect their seasons of singleness and kind of like dismiss it as something that's not good, but I love it. And I just get to grow in my relationship. And so
I agree, because just like I said earlier, I'm big on making sure our relationships are in the prioritization, the proper order. And so whenever we're in a season of singleness, it allows us to make sure that that first relationship is super solid and will not be affected once we get into dating and stuff. So.
And I'm married, but I can touch on this as well. Kind of like what you said, Lucas. I feel like there's no better time in your life where there's something else not pulling on your attention, so you can focus your whole attention on your relationship with the Lord. Because it's hard when you're married. There's so many, when you have kids, there's so many relationships that want your attention that are fighting for that. But being single is the one time that you can focus on your top priorities and your top relationship. And I feel like there's no, kind of what you said, there's no better way to prepare yourself for your future spouse, for your future husband, wife, whatever it may be, than to pursue your relationship with the Lord now.
Yeah,
definitely.
I agree so much with this question. I just wanted to add, like, when I was single, I actually, like, made the decision when I was in middle school that I wasn't going to date until I became an adult, because I wanted my childhood years, my middle school years, my high school years to be about growing myself and my relationship with God. Because like Lucas and Kyle were saying, like, it is so important that we have ourselves in the right place before we partner our life with somebody else. Plus, it is, like Lucas was saying, a lot of fun to just get to know yourself better and get to do, like, whatever you want without running it by another person. There is a lot of freedom and fun in being single, so seriously, it's great.
You can play golf as much as you want. Nobody has to.
I feel like golf. I mean,
If you're single, Lucas will take you golfing.
That is 100% true.
So, going into another one, how do I know if my relationship is healthy or toxic?
I feel like if you are asking that question,
Yeah.
there might be a little bit of a line there that you that you need to touch on. I mean, I think it's all about, we say this all the time, but it's about having accountability. I mean, that's the biggest thing in relationships is having people that are holding you accountable and you're being completely honest with. And if you're not being honest with your accountability, there's no point in having it. So really just being open and vulnerable with the people who have just walked a couple steps ahead of you and who have done this before, just to hold you accountable and to be able to point out those things that say, hey, this might not be the best route for you, or this might not be the healthiest thing.
It's good.
So
It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I feel like a broken record at this point, but I think that any relationship that pulls on your relationship with God and like kind of drags it away as opposed to building it is a toxic relationship because again, like we're as Jesus followers, it's just so clear that relationship has to be first and foremost in every part of our life, or every part of our life will suffer because of it. So if a relationship is helping build you personally as a Jesus follower, then that's probably a healthier relationship, as opposed to if the opposite's happening, then the opposite would be true, I would think.
It's good.
Yeah. And I also like completely agree with what Maddie said. That was actually going to be my response, like if I were to answer.
Too slow.
Always. But like if you have to ask yourself the question, or you find yourself like repeatedly asking yourself that question in your relationship, then you pretty much already have the answer.
Something's being revealed in your heart,
So,
for sure.
Yeah.
Those are super great answers, guys. For our last one, when should I start dating?
You don't.
48.
Shane said
Years
never.
old. Let's go.
Never.
Don't date till 48.
You guys are both really not doing well with that.
Yeah.
We're
That's a great point also.
hypocritical
You
a
know,
little bit.
it is what it is.
Now, I'm going to hijack something that Lucas said earlier because he stole it from me slightly, but I'm going to say it. And that is that it's some advice that I received via YouTube years ago, and I've shared a couple times, and that is how do you know when it's time to date, who the person is, etc. The best way that you can do that is to focus on running your race. So figure out, what is God calling Kyle to do, put your head down and do that. Now every once in a while, stick your head up, look around, be like, oh, who's running this race alongside me from afar? Oh, Jamie's over there. She's kind of cute and she's running. And then put your head right back down and keep running. Keep serving. Keep going after God. Spend time in the Word. Do all that stuff. Then put your head up again. See right. Oh, a couple people fell off. Glad we didn't go in that direction. But I still see Jamie. She's still over there. All right, put my head back down. And then finally, once you keep going and you pick your head up, you're focused on your race and you look around. If you keep doing that a lot and you consistently see that person there, you're both in that spot, your relationship with God is solid, their relationship with God is solid, then you might be able to be like, hey girl, make something happen. But I believe that's so valuable because it just shows that your priorities, both your priorities are in focus, you're both serving God, you're both have that relationship with Him, growing strong, and then at that point, I believe it's just gonna become known. It's gonna be obvious that when you're in the right spot, because the questions aren't gonna be there. Like, oh, I don't know if this is the right time. It's gonna be a lot of confirmation just in everything. And then like Lucas, I think, said earlier, like just seeking out like spiritual leadership. Like, what does your youth pastor think? Yeah. Because they'll probably have some insight into your life that you might not.
For sure.
Yeah, and I think I always like kind of point back to that saying. You need to focus on becoming the right you before finding the right person. Right? Because I think so often we look at like, oh, that'd be a good fit. It's like, but are you in the right place? Or like, how's your heart in this season? Like, do you have a foundation set like on God or the church? Like, because I always see it all the time. Like, oh, they start dating. 6 months later, they don't even in the church. You know what I mean? So like, where's your foundations? Where's your accountability? Find a pastor, a leader in your life, and ask them. They'll be real with you. They'll be raw with you. You know, like, hey, you're not in a good place. You're not dating. I highly encourage, just don't. Just do it. You'll know when the right time is. You'll know when the right time is to date, and then just enjoy life. You know what I mean? So that's a good point, though, Kyle.
And something else I want to add is like sometimes there's a lot of pressure, and there's a whole conversation about like right love, wrong time, whatever. There's that whole deal. But when it comes to like seeking out a relationship, if there's somebody that you really like, there are times in life where you are working on yourself and it's just not the right time. Like maybe you see somebody that you really like, you think they're super cool, but you know you as a person are not ready to get into a relationship. I want to encourage you, like when you put God at the center of that relationship and you genuinely invite Him into that process, you are not going to miss out on the good things and the right person that He has for you because you're working on yourself and growing closer to Him. Like what's meant for you, what God has for you, when you are honoring Him and putting Him at the center, you're not going to miss out on that. No matter what you think that looks like, you're not going to miss out on it because God honors the time that you give to Him, getting to know Him and getting to like make yourself better so that you can be a better person. Like, you're not gonna miss out.
It's good.
And I've heard Judah Smith say this a bunch of times, but the right thing at the wrong time is the wrong thing.
Yeah.
So
That's good.
I can't do
That'll-
that.
Okay, I'm really glad Kyle can do it.
I can't do it either. I don't know.
It's cool. You guys should start trending. You guys aren't cool.
I feel like it's phasing out.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, it's phasing.